We got that one. We got this one. Unresolved tablet. All right, all right, all right. Hey y'all, what's going on? This is your man Severe Lean, and welcome to Daddy's Right Here Live. Listen, it's another day above ground. It's a great day to be alive. Another opportunity to help someone else. So, as I had announced earlier this week, the format for Daddy's Right Here is going to change. Right, that I want to do some things differently. I wanted to get off the soft cushion chair, right, the soft cushion couch. I wanted to listen. I wanted to feel my energy, and for me, right, my energy is channeled when I'm moving around. My energy is channeled pretty much when I'm standing up. Right now, I can sit down in this chair here. It's the high chair, but it's a hard chair, right? But I want to feel it, and I want you to feel what it is that I'm saying, right? So I made the conscious decision that I was going to change how this show was going to look, right? So one of the things that I started looking at was that I needed to have a space where the acoustics were really good, and also a space where I can get really good lighting. So I think I've established that here. Y'all can let me know later whether that in fact is the case. But moving forward, these shows are going to be recorded and placed onto a DVD. So if you don't catch the show live, you won't be able to catch any of these shows. Not Daddy's Right Here Live. You won't be able to catch any of these shows as repeat viewings on YouTube. Because I'm also in the process now of taking Daddy's Right Here Incorporated to another level, right? Because you can't always rely upon grants. You can't always rely upon, somebody who wants to write a check just to help. You got to create a cash flow. So what I've been doing over the years since I moved down here to Florida is I have been doing some things to start setting up my ducks in a row for the direction that I'm going in next. Somebody asked me earlier, they said, well, are you still doing Daddy's Right Here? So I said, yeah, well, Daddy's Right Here Incorporated is a nonprofit family services organization that seeks to decrease father absenteeism. So we provide educational lectures, workshops, groups, classes, seminars to individuals in need of those services, their family members, community members, and direct care service providers. So we do all of that. So when you go online to my Severe Lean YouTube educational station and you catch Daddy's Right Here Live, that's part of what we provide because we're under the auspices of education with the Internal Revenue. That's what we do. We provide education. So this is education. So it's a matter of you always got to find a way to keep the flow going. I'm not in a position right now where, I can set up shop and I can start getting contracts. I can start applying for grants and start providing services because I'm still settling in. I'm still learning my way around Florida. And I'm still taking responsibility to become proficient and masterful at my job. See, because that's the butter, right? That's the butter. So you got to keep that flowing. And you got to make sure you're tight on that. So the website is going to be able to accommodate all the things that I do. And everything that I do, all proceeds go to Daddy's Right Here Incorporated. Period. That ain't for me to pay my rent. It ain't for me to go buy me a new car. It ain't for me to go buy. No, it's not for any of that. It's for me to continue to do what it is that I do. I have to invest in some more camera equipment. I've been using this $50 Canon Sure Shot, right, for years, since back there like 2011, 2012. I've been using this camera. The lens thing that broke off, but it still shoots. It still gives me what I need. I can still make it happen. So when I hear people complaining about they need to do this and they need to do that, hey, listen, that battery started going off right before the show, man. On the smoke detector. I'm gonna change it, but it's irritating to me. I'm sure it's got to be irritating you. But anywho, so when people come up with excuses as to they need this and they need that to get started, you have things at your disposal. A telephone, right? A telephone, one of the simplest things. A telephone. Hold on, bear with me, folks. I forgot to go live on Instagram. I thought I pushed live, but it didn't. So here we go. All right. So a telephone. You have a telephone that you use. You got people out there who sing, who dance, who do all kinds of things. That telephone can make you money. That telephone can get you exposed. That telephone can launch your career. It can launch so many things, but you're not using it for that purpose. I have cameras that I've had for years. I even shot my second film with old camcorder. I shot it on film. This is a whole different look. But I say all that to say that, listen, there's changes coming, right? The show is going to be live, raw. I mean, listen, I'm turning it up because this is real. You have to begin to take your life seriously. You have to begin to take a look at where it is you're going in your life. Because if you don't take a look at it, right, it's like driving up the highway. If you don't see the signs, watch the signs, you can find yourself in a whole different state that you don't want to be in. Lost. Like Alice in Wonderland. Find yourself going down a rabbit hole. Right? That's what ends up happening ultimately. So let's go on with the show. So, a lot of times when you hear about abuse, the first thing that comes to mind is sexual or physical. And I've done shows in the past on trauma, right? I've done some shows on being in abusive relationships. The very first paper that I did in my collegiate studies, when I started attending Community College in Philadelphia, the first paper I did was why do some women remain in abusive relationships? Yeah, that was the first paper I did. That was the first paper. See, one of the things, let me jump back for a minute. See, one of the things that you have to understand is where I come from. In 1994, I made a decision to stop living the life I was going to live. I came off the streets. I stopped being in that street life. I stopped doing all that clubbing and the hustling and the drugging. I stopped doing all of that. April 17th, 1994, I stopped doing all of that. I made a conscious decision then that I was going to do something different. But I also know that I came with a lot of stuff. I had a lot of trauma throughout the years of my life. through that lifestyle and through things that were subjected to me and imposed upon me by others as I was coming up, from my own household to my peers to the streets to relationships, intimate relationships, boyfriend girlfriend relationships, whatever they call it now, marriages, all those things, right? Because I got married at 24. So all of those things were who I was. So in April of 94, right, when I made that decision, I also made the decision that the people who I met, the people I began to have around me, right, I began to allow them to help me. I knew I needed to surrender to another way of doing things. I knew I needed to surrender to a different thinking. I knew that my way wasn't working. My way never worked. It wasn't about what was in my heart. It was about what's in my mind. Because I was never a bad dude. I was never a dude who wanted to go out there and bring harm to people. I was always a dude who, was loving and caring to people. And I always talk about this. I'm the dude who would carry little Mary's books home from school for her, sit there and talk to her on the step, being nice, with my hands folded in front of me, right? And no sooner did we settle, here come little Boo with the swagger, with the attitude. What's up, girl? And she break me off to be with him. Yeah, no, you go, listen, all right, I'm gonna see you later, thank you, right? And here he is, the dude, the want nothing dude, the do nothing dude, that ain't got nothing to do. That's what you want. That's what wound up being. And so I began to see those kind of things happen. I see all kinds of things happening with relationships, right? But I was also the dude who would go to the store for you. Like I had people in the neighborhood who I hung out with, chilled with, right? Neighbors and whatnot who looked out for me. Right? I would go to the store for them, if they needed me to go to the store, because I worked for whatever it is that I got. I had a work ethic early on, because my Uncle Frank guided me in that capacity. Because my father wasn't there. Right? I had another neighbor that behind where we lived, he stepped in and he taught me some things. He showed me some things, right? So I was never a dude who was about like bringing harm to people, like looking around to victimize people, to stick people up and all kinds of stuff. No, I had a crew that I hung with, right? But we weren't about that. But we knew how to come up if we needed to. But we weren't about that. We just sat, chilled, laugh and joke. We weren't sitting down thinking about ways and means to rob banks, rob people, and wreak havoc on society. Right? Never was that kind of dude. But one of the things that I learned along the way was that this other dude, I talked about Boo, the one with the swag and the negative swag that always seemed to get played. Right? I started seeing that. I started seeing where that was successful in many ways because I was shy. I didn't know how to approach girls. I was intellectual. So like they like to hear me talk. Right? So I was real shy. And a lot of times what would happen is I would find myself in different kinds of relationships where I thought they were going somewhere, but they weren't going anywhere. But I was investing a lot of time into them because I cared. Because I cared. Right? So if I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you in a loving and caring way, not in my head trying to figure out like how I can get the draws. I just want to be nice. I want to be a good person. I want to be good to you. I want to be a good friend to you. That was always my focus. The caretaker. I didn't know that's what that was then. The enabler. I didn't know what that meant. But that's who I was. And there was a reason for why I was that way. And we're not going to go into detail about, that because I'm trying to stay focused on the show without going back into all the stories. I'm just trying to give you some basic stuff. That I came from an environment of physical abuse, where there was physical abuse put upon my mother. My father was physically abusive. I saw his abuse upon my other family members. My step. I saw all that stuff. There was always fights. It's always fights. I heard the language. I saw all those things. You know what I'm saying? The way my mother was raised, the way my mother raised us was hard. It was hard, right? So I was never a dude who wanted to do anything but love somebody. That's all I've ever been. Right? Never was a dude ever who wanted to do anything but show people love. Right? And have you love me back? I showed it not because of I wanted it back, but I showed it, and like I started learning early on, we're like, man, it's not really mattering. People don't seem to want love. People seem to want chaos, mayhem, conflict and confrontation. Cry about peaceful living, but they're so drama driven that they can't see the forest through the trees. Like you just can't, right? So as I got older and I started, getting my little swag and I started hooking up with the girls, right? I started seeing different girls. And I started being with different girls, right? But many of them who I was seeing, they weren't trying to get down like that. So I was trying to get down like that. So I still was friends with them, but I was, hooking up with other girls. And I began to see the difference between the behaviors. The good dude was the empty-handed dude. It was the dude who got nothing, right? But hand claps and smiles. While the other dude was getting the trim. Yeah, he was getting all of it, right? And then I would have to be the one to sit and listen to you tell me about how terribly he's treating you, yet you stay with him. And here I am, the good dude. But you keep talking to me about how bad he's treating you, what he's doing to you. And I would have to get here and see the crying and the tears. And I would be the one to console you. And then you would be so happy. And once again, I get hand claps and smiles. And you go right back to the insanity. So you know what that showed me? I don't want hand claps and smiles. I'm trying to get it in. So I began to gravitate toward being that dude. That dude who had the funky swagger, who was just rough and disrespectful. And I found that it was working. Now some of y'all out there saying, well, it ain't gonna work for me. Okay. I hear you. But I see it every day. I see it every day. Every day. My first wife, I had to ask her some years down the line. I said, what did you want with me? What was it about me? And she said, well, excuse me, y'all. Well, you're just so talented. I just saw the talent in you, and I knew that, you could do better, and I just hoped. And I'm saying to myself, but I was a bum. And I said that to her, I was a bum. I didn't have anything. I had a job. I was hustling. I was making some money. I owned nothing. Hell, when I came to move into her house, I had 2 hefty bags. And they weren't lawn and leaf bags. They were just 2 regular tall kitchen trash bags. That's how much I had. That's how much I had. But that wasn't the first relationship that I was in, like that. Again, this was my first wife. I was 24 when I got married. So I was in prime piss poor behavior mode. I was raw at that point. In the 80s, I had nothing. Nothing. But what I found along the years was that it was difficult to stay the course of my heart because of what I was seeing and because of the things that I experienced, right? The trauma, the stuff that resides within. It was a difficult adjustment because I wanted to be a good dude. I didn't want to be this dude who took advantage, who did this and that, who just hitting it and quitting it. That wasn't who I was, right? So then I got married. And I started seeing some other things. The behavior still hadn't changed because now I had already turned the corner of being the Rico Suave kind of dude, right? And now I'm in funk mode. And here I was again I had already had experience with different things, and my insides were changing. I was this angry dude, right? I got away from being loving and caring, in my actions, because I had convinced myself by all the examples that I had around me that this was the way to be. But my heart was heavy. My heart was always hurting because that's not who I wanted to be. But it got me what I wanted. It got me what I wanted. Because I had all the examples. I had all the evidence. And I still have that evidence today, but we ain't got there yet. So by the time I made the decision that I was tired of like all the confusion that was going on inside of me and wanted help, I got it. And I had a lot of men and women, but for me, it was most important that I had men in my life who helped me see things differently, right? Because they didn't tell me how to live. They were just telling me, well, look at your own evidence. And that's the methodology that I use when providing service, when counseling. I can't tell you. You have to see your own evidence. Because your heart is often what drives your decisions and things. But then it's always a struggle between your mind, that id, and the ego are at odds, because the heart, that's what is actually trying to keep you from wrecking yourself. Like they say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what the heart is doing. The heart, the id, the ego, and the super ego. The super ego is that stuff that happens in your gut. You know it ain't right. You know it ain't right. You feel it in your gut. It ain't right. That's what morality is. Ain't right. The ego puts things in perspective, but the id does what it wants to do. So your morality, right? Your ego starts communicating and fighting with the id because, hey, it's not what you should be doing. So I had to find balance with that stuff, and I started seeing myself in different lights. But what happened was my id was so loud because of what had transpired throughout the course of the years of my life. The stuff in my mind had become so overwhelming. So you got the id, which is that total self-centeredness part that exists within the human being from conception to death. And then you have trauma. So everything up here was just in mass turmoil. Complete and mass, unadulterated turmoil. So I didn't know whether I was coming or going, literally. I wanted to do this. I was telling people this about me, but I was doing this. And then people were saying to me what you just said, and then you just did. We call it cognitive dissonance, right? Your mouth utters one thing, but your behaviors, your actions, which are driven by your thinking, are totally opposite of what it is that you said. Totally opposite. And you don't realize that your heart ain't driving this conversation. Your heart ain't driving these behaviors. It's your thinking. So I had to start looking at my thinking. That's what I had to start looking at, my thinking. But along the way, throughout all of those years, I was protecting myself. I felt the need to protect myself, to defend myself from everything that was being said to me and about me, right? Now, we're talking about my first marriage. We're talking about early on, right? Because I've been married 4 times. We're talking about early on, the person who I had become. Because by the time I got married, I was so far gone emotionally. I didn't have anything Nothing. And knowing that you ain't shit, knowing you have nothing, right? Knowing when you get around other people, right? You got to fake the front. You know what I'm saying? You got you making it seem like you got it going on. You wearing your homie's shoes. You wearing your homie's gear. You wearing your girlfriend's gear because you don't have any gear. You can't afford none. So you make it seem like, oh, it's a bonding thing between us. Like I'm wearing my, yeah, it's my man. He looking out, yeah. And all inside, you just cringing inside because you know you don't have anything. But you trying to gain acceptance from others by doing all these other things and making it seem like even if it goes as far as you don't even pay your damn bills, so you can have something to give the appearance of what it is you trying to tell people. Your heart's desires is what you desire to have that. So that's what you're talking to people about. That's what you're telling people. That's what you're telling people. Right? So when you start looking at the real you is not appealing at all. At all. And you know it. But you have to mask it. You have to mask your suffering. You have to mask your pain. You have to mask your reality. And you become somebody else. And ultimately, that's what I did. Became very argumentative, very confrontational, always want to, go intellectual on people, what I'm saying, to defend myself because what they were saying was right. But I wasn't going to tell you it's right. I got to tell you that it's wrong, right? I got to make you feel bad about yourself, right? I got to do all these things, because I need to protect me because I had nothing. I was nothing. I'm putting it to you real simple. I was nothing. I had not achieved anything. Nothing. I had dropped out of school, high school, in the 12th grade. I was in the street on my own, 15, 16 years old. I was out there. I had nothing. I was just running away, like Frankie Beverly said. Right? Just running away. That's all I was doing. Running away. I didn't know where I was running. I was just running. I was running away from everything that I had been experiencing. I needed something new. And no matter how far I ran, I took me with me. And I found new stuff. But I took me with me. And nothing was changing. I was actually getting worse. And as I continued to live that lifestyle, I got worse and I got worse and I got worse. As a person. But my heart ached. So you said, well, Sabir, so where are you going with this? When we start talking about an abusive person, right? You can stand in the middle of a room and you can look around. You can look around and see all the faces, everybody in there. And you will make all kinds of decisions as to who is an abusive person. You'll look at the person who has a scowl on their face. You'll look at the person who has a flat affect. You'll look at the person who just seems to be in every woman's face, every man's face. You look at those kind of people and you say, that looks like, yeah, he probably is. You'll hear what somebody says and you're like, damn, it's like that. I can imagine life with him. Right? You look at and it's usually poor people, people who live in projects, those people. The people who live on the fringes of our society. It's those people. Those are the people. Those are the abusers. See, we got it going on. We got jobs. We're middle class. We ain't upper class, but we're middle class people. So it can't be us. Because those people are the ones that are so dissatisfied with their lives. Yeah. Wrong. Most people who are abusive, right, are people who are walking around with unresolved. Yes. Unresolved. No matter the origin of it, it's unresolved. It's unsettling. It causes an uneasiness. And because people don't delve into bringing it to resolve, right, it becomes uncharted territory within the person. Yeah. It becomes uncharted territory within the person. Yeah. And then every time somebody takes the charter, not on land, but in eyesight of the shoreline, the person acts out. But they don't see it. They don't think that they're acting out. They just think that they, listen, I done moved past that. You know, it's over. She left. He's gone. What we got to talk about? Yeah, I got my behind beat bad as a child. Yeah, I had this happen to me. Yeah, but I'm past all of that. You know what I'm saying? Past that. That's the mindset. That's the mindset. I'm past that. So what actually happens is that they convince themselves this is a protective mechanism. It's a protective mechanism. So what happens is they begin to deflect things that is said, deflect the idea that they're acting out in a particular way, that they're just not really facing their reality. They begin to act out. And that's what we do. We protect ourselves. We go into protect mode. So we become defensive. We become guarded because how dare you, right? You know who I am? And I've asked people, what do you know who you are? Because that's what's important. I don't have to know who you are. Or when people say, well, who do you think you're talking to? Like, I don't know. You know, so you look at these kind of things, but what you have to look at is there's a core to all of this, right? You can't make a determination who's abusive if you can't identify what abuse is beyond somebody putting their hands on you. Because it might be you. It might be you. But you have to begin to identify what abuse is. You can go to Webster's, Wikipedia, anything else and say, well, that's the definition. That ain't me. I don't do those kind of things. Listen, for anybody who's tuning in on Instagram, right? Good morning to everybody. Again, if you're just tuning in, Instagram only runs for an hour. YouTube, my Severe Lane YouTube educational station will run until I get tired, right? And so will my other camera that I'm also recording on. But please, if the hour comes and you are viewing on Instagram, hurry up, get on over to YouTube and continue following the show. So what happens is, right, we say it ain't us. And people are telling us things about ourselves along the way, and we're just dismissing it. Oh, that's your shit. That's what happened. It becomes yours. It becomes yours. It ain't me. It's you. It ain't me. It's you. You get it? All right. Y'all can catch on to that one day and figure that out, what I'm saying. So today, right, we're talking about abuse. And one of the things, you know, we just got finished talking about is what they look like, right? So let's take a look at, you know, a couple other things here. And when you start looking at parenting, you start looking at abuse, the first thing you think of, and which is absolutely true, is that children are usually the first subjects of abuse by another person. They're the first subjects of it. Because when you look at abuse, emotional abuse, you have to look at one person imposing control upon another. Yeah. Imposing control upon another. Right? All in the name of, I want you to have the best. I want you to do right. I want you to make sure that you don't end up like him Like her, hell, like me. So it's a matter of the ongoing grind of, hey, that's not right. No, don't do that. What are you doing? Why is it wrong? It don't matter why it's wrong. I'm your mother. I'm your father. That's what you're going to do because that's right. What's right and what makes it right? What makes it right? Where's your evidence to support that what you're saying to me is right? Is your evidence coming from your own unresolved? Is your evidence coming from your own need to see things differently through me, the child? Because that's what happens. And when you look at our society today, and everybody keeps talking about our youth have parents, they have grandparents, they have aunts and uncles and nieces. Stop saying our youth today acting like they're independent of you. They're your damn youth. They're your children. And maybe part of why they're out in the street doing what the hell they're doing has everything to do with your need to control them and what your control is doing to them. And maybe if you take a longer look, a deeper look, a harder look, you'll find it's the same damn behavior you have in your relationship with your partner. So your child didn't hit the street because your child don't want to be around you. Neither does anybody else. And those who are around you, that time around you is probably short. Because you can't help yourself consciously or unconsciously. You can't help yourself. You can't help but to react to things around you, right? That trigger your own unresolved, that trigger your need to control a circumstance. You can't stop it. You can't stop it. How can you stop something you're not aware of? You can be driving down the street and see these damn red flashing lights and see these two sticks coming down and realize at that point, hey, a train is coming. Stop. But then you have some idiots who try to go through before the damn sticks come down. We know about those people. They don't live to tell about it in most cases. But you understand what I'm saying? People are telling you, no, listen, this ain't cool. Why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep doing that? And the response is typically, well, you don't like me, you got a problem with me, you ain't got to be with me. That's not what I'm saying to you. I'm asking you, why are you being this way with me? Now I'm personalizing it, right? And I'm personalizing, I'm internalizing, now my stuff is coming up. Like, why are you coming at me like this? Right? And you still don't see how you coming at me. You still don't see what's going on. But your condition is that it's the other person. Remember, it's not me, it's you. You got to understand that. Right? So, one of the other things that begins to happen is that, unlike that of the child, when the parent is trying to control the life of the child, that parent who has that kind of behavior does the same thing with their partner. And they begin to tell their partner how their partner ain't doing some things right. You need to do this. You need to do that. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? That's why this continues to happen. That's why that continues to happen. But wait a minute. Hold up. What about your life? What about your life? I'm telling you who I was because, see, I was the dude who did that. When you have nothing, when you feel a certain way about yourself, when you bear the characteristics, right? Excuse me, of an abuser, and we're going to cover that shortly. When you bear those characteristics, right? You don't even see it. Just like the train light flashing and the sticks coming down. You don't even see it. I became that person. I didn't see anything that you were saying. And I would argue and argue. My first wife would tell you, I'd start arguing with her at 6 o'clock in the evening. She'd get in the damn bed, go to sleep, and I'm still up in the middle of the damn floor arguing. Yeah, she's waking up to go to work, and I'm still arguing about the same damn thing I was arguing with at 6 p.m. last night. Because I had to defend myself. How dare you? But when you don't have your house in order, when your house ain't in order, that's what happens. That's what happens when your house ain't in order. It's in this order, it's in this array, and then it comes out of you and it's spewed on other people. Yeah. But you don't see wrongness in it. And that's what ultimately happens. That's what ultimately happens. So now the adult, you're with an adult, and you treat the adult like you treat that child, the same way. You tell that adult about what they need to do to fix their life. But you only tell them what they need to do to fix their life because you can't fix your own, but you don't be told about fixing your own. But it's easier because you can tell me, because that's how you control me. You're telling me how I need to behave, right? Because you want to control me. That's abuse. You're attempting to control my life. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, about ways of being controlled. But it's about control, right? It's about control. Another one of the characteristics, right? They have to have their own way, right? Regardless of anybody who they have around them, they have to have their own way. Things have to be their way. Because if things aren't that way, then it's you who gets accused of being abusive to them. Then it's you who gets accused of wrongdoings upon them. You get accused. You get accused. And that's how the control comes in, right? Because they blame you. They victimize you, then blame you for victimization, the victimization upon you. Make you feel guilty, right? And then you find yourself in the cycle of being apologetic for their stuff. I did it for years. That's what enablers do. That's what enablers do. That's what caretakers do. That's what knights in shining armor do. That's what they do. And I sit back and I suffer in silence by myself. But are you happy? Because I want you to be happy. Because you're telling me, well, I'll be happier if you did this. Right? I'll be happier if you didn't do that. I'd be happier if you spent more time doing this than doing that, because this makes me happy. The total self-centeredness. Because it's about me. Because they always have to be the center of focus. They always have to be the center of focus. So they create situations, they manipulate situations where attention is always drawn to them. Whether it's good attention, whether it's bad attention, it doesn't even matter. Attention is attention to this person. This is the characteristic of an abusive person. I just want the attention. And no matter what it is you say, no matter what it is you do, it doesn't matter. It's not going to ever satisfy them, because their need is to control you, control your emotions, control what you do. If you continue to come at a person over and over and over and over and over again, continue to be dissatisfied with them, if they continue to stay in that relationship and continue to try to please you, they will exhaust themselves in doing it, and ultimately they will deviate, stray away from their own intended course just to please that person. And then they're in the ideal position for that person to further control them. Now, you used to do this, you used to do that, you stopped doing this. What happened to you? What's wrong with you? It never stops. You follow what I'm saying? It never stops. You go back to school. All right, so now you get back on track. You start going to school. You start doing this. You start having, the classes and study classes and all this other kind of stuff. And then it's again, well, what's up? Why can't you come home and study? Why don't you study here? I can help you study. How come you don't ask me for help? Damn. Listen to what I'm saying, folks. This is abuse. It's a means of control. It's a manipulation. It will never stop. It won't. That person will never be satisfied with anything, no matter what it is. Oh, they'll smile and say thank you, but they're still looking for another way to come at you, so you can feel uncomfortable. Because you got to also remember, these people are miserable within themselves. They're miserable within themselves because they have all this unresolved up here, and they have all this desire in here, and this is running the house. The id and the unresolved within the mind, the trauma, is running the house. Your house ain't in order. Your house ain't in order. And this is the cycle. And listen, this cycle will never end until that person puts themselves around people who are going in the same direction. The difficulty with that is that person feels so compelled to control everything around them. This person has it so ingrained within them to be this way that they will only be around certain people. They will only be around people who will listen to them. They will only be around people who they feel so they can be bigger than, they can be better than. They will always down, degrade, slander everybody else around them so they can look like the bigger and better person. That's what they do. You don't have to believe me. Go to the articles. Type in characteristics of abusive people. And don't look at it through the lens of your abusive lens. Look at it through the lens without that, if you can. Because when you look at life through the lens of an abusive person, right, you can't see anything but what you want others to do for you. That's all you see. So like I told you, back in April of 1994, the lens of my eyes had changed. I wanted to see the light. I was following the light all the way. I just kept finding myself in dark places. This dark place, the trauma, very dark place. But there was always light there. And I kept walking towards the light. It's just something about the light, the brightness of the light that lights up the spirit. It makes the connection to here. Right? But until that person is ready, they will spend the rest of their lives being just that way. There won't be anything different. There won't be anything different. Until I was willing to do something different in my life, until I was ready to see me for who I really was, to see what it was that I was masking, to see what it was that I was avoiding. Listen, I had to start purging myself, man. And when I start purging myself of all of that resentment, all of that anger, all of those fears, all of that woulda, shoulda, couldas, all of the belittling and degrading and oh man, when I started purging myself, man, it was like somebody had knocked the dam down and it just started flowing. The tears started flowing, right? But it started feeling so good. But I'm not talking about solutions today. And to end all of that, what it comes down to is much of the abuser's fears are ingrained in their own fear of being controlled. They won't surrender to things. They won't submit. They'll find all kinds of reasons for this, that, and the other. They'll attempt to make you believe that they win it. And all the while, they're manipulating you so they can control you. Well, what it comes down to is they don't want to be controlled. They have a fear of being controlled. They have a fear of somebody, telling them what they need to do with their lives. That's a fear that they have. These kind of people won't submit. Right? They won't. They won't submit to anything. Oh, they'll take wedding vows. but they're not submitting. They're shaking their head when the vows are being read, but they don't know what it means to submit. Because within them, submitting is like, no, ain't no tap out here. No, ain't no tap out here. They won't. They won't. They will not tap out. And the relationship eventually fails. Or the relationship continues to be toxic and in chaos for the duration. Because it won't get any better. And then no matter what it is that you do, you'll feel like you can never get out of it. Because you will always be made to feel like you are the one who did this. You caused this. You made this happen, not me. I didn't do this. You did it. If you wouldn't have did this, if you wouldn't have said that, I wouldn't have felt this way. I wouldn't have acted this way. You're responsible for your own damn actions. But abusers don't look at it like that. Abusers want you to be held accountable for their feelings, for their thoughts. They want to hold you accountable. Another characteristic of abusers is they believe that they are owed by everyone, and thus everyone, including the victim, should give them what they want. Even the victim. Yeah. And that's what I was saying earlier, how like you victimize me. I complain about being victimized. You validate your victimization of me by blaming me, making me feel bad, making me think, damn, did I? That's the idea. That's the control piece. It makes you think. See, when you love and you care for a person, right? And the other person knows that, this abuser kind of person, when they know that, they use that to their benefit. They know that you got their back. They know that you love them. They know it. And they turn around and use that, well, she ain't gonna leave. He ain't gonna leave. Right? This is how we do. No. This ain't how we do. It's how you do. But you find no matter what it is that you do, you will always be left at the end of a confrontation with the feeling of, damn, did I? Yeah. And Mr. Enabler here would turn around and say, yeah, I did. But, I'm not. No, stop that. That's what I say to myself in my head. Because I have to. Because if I don't, I'll be all twisted up all over again. But the abuser is relentless with their manipulation. And again, consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't matter. Intentionally, unintentionally, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're hurting somebody and they're telling you that you're hurting them, stop it. If they tell you how they're hurting you, do something about it. Don't keep hurting the person. Like the old saying goes, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining, because that's what you're doing. And then even if I'm standing there with an umbrella, why you pissing on me? Why you got that little behind umbrella? You need to get something big that we can both stand under. Damn, I got an umbrella. Don't matter. I'm telling you, they're never satisfied. They're never satisfied. And when you tell them that, they'll tell you something about you. I don't ask for much. And again, it's a Jedi mind trick because it goes back to now the passive aggressive piece comes in like, what? I don't ask for nothing from you. I can do things on my own. I just asked you for such and such. I didn't say you did anything. I'm just saying. They feel entitled to give orders, control, and abuse in order to get what they want. I just said that. But here's a part that I wanted to get to. They tend to be self-centered to the point that they feel they can, even should, tell others what they are thinking and feeling. They feel compelled to do this. It is my duty to tell you what thought just passed through my mind. Yeah. They don't care if it's offensive. They don't care if your feelings get hurt about it. No. That was just what I was thinking about. I'm just sharing with you what I was thinking. Again, very passive aggressive. Right? Very passive aggressive. Right? I'm just sharing my feelings with you. Passive aggressive. It's a means of controlling you. It's a means of tugging on your heartstrings, making you feel like you are doing something wrong when their whole agenda, their whole intent is on getting what they want. This don't even involve the id. This is unresolved. Now you're putting both of them together. The id that wants what it wants when it wants, and it don't care who it hurts, with unresolved trauma. That's scary, man. That's scary. It is. Because you will always be in a lose-lose situation with that person. You will always lose because you will always come away from the circumstance feeling like you did something when you know you didn't do a damn thing wrong, when you know you didn't say anything wrong, but that person will make you feel like you did. Why? Because then what they do is they jump back. Well, you know that's been an issue for me. You know I already went through that, right? And then you feel like, okay, well, yeah. It goes on and on and on and on and on. It never stops. No matter what it is you say, no matter what it is you do, they come right back with something to make you feel like, well, you did something to them. Well, you said something too. Well, wait a minute. But it didn't start there. It started with you and the things that you were saying and doing to me. But then all that goes out the window because now, in order for me to validate my stuff, oh, well, you said something to me too. You said hurtful things. You said harmful things. You cussed at me. You did this. You did that too. So now they've included you in their wrongness. And because you know that it was wrong for you to act out that way, no matter what the justification is, right? So you feel that. I could have handled that different too. See, that's what I'm saying. You could have did something different. And it negated everything that you did to hurt me, to abuse me. Because I did this too. Now, and if I say nothing, if I did nothing, that comes with consequences. That comes with consequences. It's always a consequence, whether you do or whether you don't do. An abusive person will never let it rest. They will never let it rest. And what they'll do is they'll go into passive mode, right? And they'll slow roll you. And they ease back into your graces. And then before you know it, bam! It shows right back up again. Out of nowhere. Nothing going on, just bam! There it is. That's what happens. That's exactly what happens. And you have to you have to see it. And that's what happens when you're in those kind of relationships. You always see the flashing red lights and the sticks. That's all you see. They're coming. You already know. You hear the ding, 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 ding. You hear the train. You hear the train. You see the red lights. Matter of fact, they're always on when you're in this kind of relationship. So you're always on edge. And when you're always on edge in this kind of relationship, you eventually regress back to where you came from, what you worked on, what you managed, because it don't go away. You know how to manage those things. You know how to manage those things. It don't go away. But before you know it, you're the same dude all over again. You're the same chick all over again. Listen, you're the same everything. I'm boo-boo all over again. Yeah. All over again. You Sally from down the way all over again. You right back there. And it's great for this relationship because both of y'all are toxic now. And you spend the rest of your damn lives like this. Because once you get locked in and your feelings are involved, because you love a person, and once you locked into that, you just deal with it. And we got a whole lot of them to go into that. You just deal with it. You just deal with it. You stay in it. You deal with it, just like it is. So there are a few other things that are characteristics of an abusive person. I just wanted to give you some of them today, right? I just wanted you to really take a look at you. Stop looking at other people and saying, well, yeah, I see that. Because a lot of y'all will walk away from this and y'all say, yeah, I see that in my husband. Yeah, I see that in my wife. Yeah, I see that. I see that in my children. But what do you see in you? See, when you're not satisfied with your life, when you're not where you want to be in the job, when you're not where you want to be educationally, when you're not where you are geographically, when you're not happy, nobody around you is happy. I've always been the kind of dude, listen, I want to make my woman happy. That's all. I got things to do. What you need, boo? All right. Why I got to go through all the extra stuff? Because you want to go through the extra stuff. And then you want to drag me into it. Then when you see my less endearing traits, now you got something to say about that. I ain't cured. I learned how to manage those things. But then as soon as you see that side of me, now you got something to say. We all got that side. Some of us just have a far darker side than others. But we all have that side. But why do you sit there and pick and pick and pick and pick and push the envelope and push the envelope till the envelope gets to the edge of the table? And then I snap. And then when I snap, now I'm wrong. Because I shouldn't have snapped. You're right that I shouldn't have snapped. But why you keep pushing me? When you know eventually that's because that's how abusive people control the circumstance. Because now they've added stuff to your list of you too. You did this too. You did this too. You did this too. You did this too. That's the defense, the laundry list. That's what people do to control. Right? So when you don't have anything on that list, they create shit for you to put on that list. Because that's the idea. The idea is I need to draw you into my web of insanity. I need to direct you in the way I want you to go. I need you to act out. So when you act out, I'm going to put it on your list. And as soon as you say something to me about my behavior, first thing I'm going to do is, well, you too. You too. That's what they do. And you stay stuck in it. Because now the guilt, this is the guilt game. This is the manipulation of your guilt. Yeah, I did do that. Yeah. All right, well, listen, we can. No. That's not how it goes, folks. And if it's going that way, stop. This is coming from an enabler. This is coming from a person who was working on his own issues with enabling. Stop. It ain't going to change. It ain't going to get no better. It's not. It's going to come to an end. Now, it can come to an agreeable end, or it's going to come to an ugly end. In most cases, with an abuser, it will always come to an ugly end because an abuser is not going to take responsibility for that stuff. And if they do turn around and they end it, right? Because they have to be the ones to end it. That's another thing you got to remember. An abuser has to be the one to end it. They have to have that kind of control. They have to be the ones to walk away from you. Because trying to walk away from them comes at a price. Comes at a price. Like, how dare you? Yeah. Because it's a back and forth thing, man. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And in situations like this, that often turn violent. They often turn violent. Yeah. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for domestic violence. People get hurt in these kind of situations, physically hurt. It elevates. Because I'm just that damn sick of you. I've shown you nothing but love. I've done everything possible for you, and you're never satisfied. And you need to see, before you get to that point, where this person will never be satisfied, no matter what it is that they tell you, no matter what it is that they attempt to show you, you need to realize that person will never be satisfied. If you see it as abuse, run. Run. Because at the end of the day, ain't gonna be nothing different. Ain't gonna be nothing different. And they're gonna blame you. They're gonna make you feel like it's you. Because that's how they control the situation. They have no self-control. None. They're jealous, extremely jealous. Let me go. I've got a couple things here. So one of the other things here, I'm gonna go through this list quickly. Low self-esteem is one of the other characteristics of a controlling person. Hurt people hurt people. You have no resolve with your stuff, you put it upon other people. Another thing on that, they rush into relationships, claiming love at first sight very quickly, fearing being alone. Yeah. Yeah, because I got to have somebody there that I can control, because that keeps me safe. That's my safe zone. That's my safe zone. Extreme jealousy, seeing it as a sign of love rather than possessiveness. Yeah. I love you. I'm looking out for you. I'm just trying to get you to do your best. That's all. What are you angry for? Yeah. Extreme jealousy. Not just jealousy, extreme jealousy. Hypersensitive. Taking the slightest action as a personal attack. The slightest, no matter what it is you say, no matter what it is you do, they personalize it. Oh, you saying this about me. Why you say that about me? Oh. That it just goes on and on and on. You ain't even talking about them. You're talking about something in a general sense, having a general conversation, talking about things in a general sense, and they personalize it. Why? Because they know it's them. They know within them that they're doing that. They know within them that they've done that. They know that y'all have talked about it, and they automatically assume, oh, you talking about me. That's how it goes, folks. That's how it goes. So listen, we're at the hour. And again, thank you for tuning in, right? And I invite y'all to become subscribers to my Severe Lean YouTube educational station. I invite you to continue to tune in live right here on YouTube and on Instagram. I invite you to do that. Next show, at that smoke alarm, that the battery's going to be in that smoke alarm to decide right in showdown we're going to be. That battery will be replaced, and we won't have that interruption. But next week, the next show, not next week, every 2 weeks, Daddy's Right Here Live. In 2 weeks, I'll see you again. We're going to wrap up this thing on abuse by going into 15 signs that you're in an abusive relationship. And we're going to wrap that up. But that'll be the first actual setup for Daddy's Right Here Live. Right now, I just got my little trusty chair right here. I got one of my drawings in the background here. This is called Hardy and You. If you can get a close-up of it, just take it's a play on words. But I'm also an artist. For those of y'all who don't know, I'm a pen and ink artist. But I'm going to have a little ambiance here. But no more the soft chair, no more the cushiony chair. I'm coming at you real. I'm coming at you hard. I ain't playing. This is the turn up. Thank y'all for tuning in to Daddy's Right Here Live. Y'all have a great day. Peace.